Maps are more than navigational aids. They shape how we see power and possibility. For centuries, the Mercator projection has misrepresented continents, especially Africa, by shrinking it in relation to others. Now, a bold movement led by the African Union and organisations like Africa No Filter and Speak Up Africa are demanding change. Their aim is to correct history, not with new borders, but with new perspectives.
If you look at a world map, Africa might not seem as big as it actually is. Africa spans 30.37 million square kilometers, nearly twice the size of Russia, which covers 17.1 million square kilometers. To put it in perspective, traveling from Egypt to South Africa is 6,199 kilometers, almost 5 times the distance from the UK to Iceland. Why does Africa look smaller on some maps? As you move away from the equator, land appears stretched, making Africa seem smaller than it is. Next time you see a map, remember, Africa isn't just big, it's massive.
For centuries, the Mercator projection has dominated world maps in classrooms, offices and digital platforms, distorting the true scale of land masses and perpetuating a Eurocentric view of the world. Developed in 1569 by Flemish cartographer Mercator, the projection was originally designed for maritime navigation because its straight grid lines held consistent compass paths. This made it ideal for sailors to plot courses. Over time, however, the design widened land near the poles and compressed areas nearer the equator, creating an illusion of size imbalance. This distortion rendered regions like Greenland and Europe disproportionately larger, while significantly shrinking equatorial continents such as Africa and South America.
And navigators and seafarers need maps if they're going to sail around the Earth. Now, this map is a modern map, and I picked it up at the Library of Congress in the United States. It's an azimuthal equidistant projection centered near Cairo. And in common with all modern maps, it incorporates a number of advanced features. It incorporates highly accurate longitudes, and particularly relative longitudes, and it incorporates an advanced map projection. It isn't easy to represent a spherical object, the Earth, on a flat piece of paper, and to do so with a considerable degree of accuracy. And this is a problem that cartography has had to overcome. So we find good map projections which require advanced mathematics and good relative longitudes. Interestingly enough, there's a category of ancient map which also shows these modern features and which doesn't fit with the received view of the development of human history. One of the most famous of these maps is the Piri-Reis map. And I'm showing it here because I want to compare the projection of this map with the projection here centered on Cairo. Notice the west coast of Africa and the east coast of South America, and coming down here to the Antarctic Peninsula, tonguing up towards the south of South America. It's that precise projection that we find on this 1513 map. Again, there's the west coast of Africa, the east coast of South America. And coming down here, we find a representation of the northern Antarctic Peninsula. In 1513, when Piri-Reis drew the map, Antarctica had not been discovered. In fact, it wasn't discovered until 1818 by our civilization. So there immediately is one anomaly on this map. And another anomaly is the mathematics used in the map projection. And a third anomaly is that it incorporates highly accurate relative longitudes. To do longitudes accurately on maps requires a chronometer, a marine chronometer that will keep accurate time at sea. And again, this was something that our civilization couldn't do until the late 18th century. So this map, fragmentary though it is, appears to incorporate many features that are not supposed to have been known about in 1513.
As a result, Africa appears much smaller than its actual size, large enough to accommodate the United States, China, India, Japan and much of Europe combined, yet remains misrepresented in common cartography. For many Africans, this distortion is more than an academic grievance. It reinforces outdated colonial-era perspectives that marginalise the continent's true influence and value. Maps are powerful tools that shape how we see and understand the world. When Africa is visually diminished, its political, cultural and economic significance is similarly downplayed in global conversations. In response to this ongoing misrepresentation, advocacy groups including Africa No Filter and Speak Up Africa have launched a bold initiative called Correct the Map. The campaign promotes the adoption of map projections that represent continents accurately, such as the Equal Earth projection introduced in 2018. Equal Earth maintains proportional landmass sizes whilst remaining visually appealing, striking a balance between geographical accuracy and aesthetic recognisability. The campaign gained significant momentum when the African Union, representing 55 member states, officially endorsed the initiative in August 2025. This newly galvanised movement seeks to transform both educational and institutional landscapes. It calls on schools, universities, media outlets and international organisations to replace the Mercator projection with Equal Earth or other more accurate projections. Africa No Filter and Speak Up Africa are mobilising through digital advocacy, petitions, campaign charters and grassroots engagement to secure this change. Some institutions have already embraced the change. Criticism often runs deeper than technical debate. It surfaces in discussions of identity, representation, and historical injustice. Advocacy leaders stress that replacing this map is a crucial step in reclaiming Africa's narrative and restoring its rightful visibility on the world stage. Opposition to this change is not absent. Some defenders of Mercator point out its historical importance and its practical value for navigation and digital mapping systems. They remind us that no flat map can be entirely accurate because it's impossible to flatten a sphere without distortion. The Mercator preserves angles and directions, which made it essential for sailors and still useful in certain digital contexts. Critics argue that scholars and technologists should focus on using a variety of map projections depending on context, rather than replacing one with another. Yet many see this debate as far more than geographic technicality. It's about visibility, power, and justice. In school classrooms or travel guides, when Africa appears shrunken, subconsciously viewers absorb that Africa is marginal rather than central. Advocates argue that the next generation should grow up with maps that accurately reflect Africa's true scale, because maps shape how children understand the world and their place in it. Organisations pushing for change understand this symbolic and educational weight. Campaigners argue that this is more than a visual correction, it's a reset of perception. It's an act of reclaiming space, of asserting that Africa is not periphery, it's central. As awareness of this distortion grows and more institutions respond, the campaign offers hope. It connects a visual tool to a broader movement for narrative equity and decolonisation, ensuring that the way we draw the world does not erase or diminish any continent, any people, or any story. What might appear as a simple cartographic adjustment carries enormous implications for identity, education, and representation. The campaign to adopt the Equal Earth projection is not just about maps, it's about restoring Africa's rightful place in global consciousness. It reminds us that how we visualise the world can either perpetuate bias or reveal truth, and that change, even on a flat page, can reshape our collective understanding. And if you like this summary, like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.